Welcome to Persistent Purpose with MJ Hunter. I am your host, Coach MJ. I am a global speaker, mindset strategist, emerging author and publisher, event producer, and serial entrepreneur extraordinaire. And I am on a mission to help you and the masses to live your lives with persistent purpose. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I actually thought about last week while I was right after I got off of doing last week's episode, which was about consistency. And I thought about distractions and how much distractions can either hurt or actually in some cases help you when you are trying to achieve something on a higher level. I actually run my businesses from home. Everything I do is virtual. And so I'm in my home 90% of the time. And there's always something pulling my attention away from the work that I'm doing in my businesses. And so I started to think, why is it that we allow distractions to happen? Are they a bad thing all the time? Are they sometimes helpful? And if so, in what ways? And so I wanted to talk about distractions because we hear a lot about staying focused. I'm reading a book right now called Total Focus. And it's written by a former Navy SEAL. I can't think of the man's name. Brandon Webb, that's his name. It's actually a very good book. But he's talking about the importance of focusing when you are trying to achieve greater levels. He was talking about not only in the military, but also in the business pursuits that have succeeded for him. And he talks about the importance of being focused on what you're doing. And it's an excellent book. If you don't have it, if you haven't read it, go out and get a copy of it and read it. But I know that for me, that's often been a struggle for me, is to stay focused on one task for a length of time or on one goal for a length of time. As much as I help people in their lives to do it as a coach, sometimes that's my biggest struggle. And they say we are the most qualified to help the person that we used to be and the things that we used to struggle with. So that's probably why I help people with their ability to focus in on what is it that they want to accomplish and stay the course until they hit their goals. But today, we are going to be talking about what I call the distraction delusion, 8 things that they don't tell you about staying focused or hyper focused. We're going to be talking about some myths. So if you are a note taker, get your notepad out. And I forgot to say this, if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new, thank you for coming to the Persistent Purpose family. Please be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of our amazing episodes. So we're going to be talking about 8 ways that you can look at distractions that might be different from what you actually thought, where you can see how they can be beneficial and might help you to not beat up on yourself. Because sometimes when I get distracted, I'm like, oh, you got to stay focused. I don't really do a lot of beating up on myself, but I do sometimes think up something negative to explain why I'm distracted. Oh, you're not committed or this. Well, it's not really true. It's not really true. There's actually a lot of benefits to distractions. So let's get into it. The first concept is that creative breakthroughs come from distractions. Now, you may have experienced this, especially if you are what we call a creative. If you are a creative, you may recognize that when you're doing something that's not trying to be creative, a lot of time, or coming up with something creative, that's when it happens. The myth is that distractions kill productivity. The myth is that distractions kill productivity, but in reality, when you take a step away from what you're doing, like maybe you take a quick walk or you browse something that's completely unrelated from what you're working on, that can provide the mental space for creativity and innovation and just thinking. I always say creative thinking is the currency of success. If you don't take time to think about not only what you're wanting to work on, but also on other things that just let your brain work on a subconscious level, you can block out a lot of great creative processes. Some of the best ideas emerge when your brain is at rest or wandering. So give yourself permission. Like I said, I work from home. Sometimes I will go into my family room and just post up on the Chase Lounge and just sit and think. Sometimes I'll be mindlessly scrolling. Now, we don't want to spend hours and hours doing that, but it's okay to take a quick break. Because your creative breakthroughs often come from the times, if you're sitting there bearing down, like, I'm going to think of something creative, I'm going to think of my greatest ideas, that's not what helps. But a lot of times when I'm just thinking about something completely different, I'm in the car, just driving along, watching the road, boom. Some of my greatest ideas come when I'm distracted. Now, I wouldn't say that driving is a distraction, but it's something separate from what I was supposed to be doing or my actual work. So let's think about distractions as not being a negative thing, but it's just something different from what you were focusing on. Okay. So your greatest creative breakthroughs can come from distractions. Number two, mindful distractions can reduce burnout. This is a big one. There's a myth that says to be successful, you have to be laser focused all the time. But actually, if you are laser focused all the time, that can lead to burnout, overwhelm. It's okay to engage in lightly in your hobbies during the workday or take advantage of some entertainment. For those who know me personally, I am a line dance instructor and I teach line dancing during the week. And one of my favorite things to do on my breaks during the course of an hour is to stop and just turn on a song and do a line dance here by myself in the Wealth Boutique, here in my office. It is just enough to clear. It's almost like when you remember those old school typewriters, when you type and the carriage goes all the way over and then you hit it to swing back and go to the next line. And there's a clean line for you to type on. It's a way of sending that carriage back and cleaning out the slate, just those 5 minutes. If you've ever heard of the Pomodoro technique, it's where you work for 25 minutes and you take a 5-minute break. They have timers on the internet that it just counts down the 25 minutes and then a sound goes off and then it goes for 5 minutes and then you back to work. Working like that in 25 5-minute cycles is so refreshing to keep from getting burnt out. Can help, and also to sustain productivity, you need to take breaks, and it's okay. Don't see distractions as a bad thing unless they completely take you away from what you're supposed to be doing. But in small increments, it's actually helpful. The third concept is that distractions enhance problem solving. See, it's a myth that you need to be hyper focused to solve tough problems, like I was just talking about. Shifting your attention away temporarily can bring a fresh perspective on the problem. Sometimes the longer you sit in it, the bigger the problem gets. And it's a fact that what you focus on or what you feed with your mind and with your talking is what grows. So if you're focused and hyper channeled in on the problem, it's going to seem bigger and bigger and bigger. But then if you switch and do something completely unrelated, stepping away, it allows your subconscious mind to work on it. See, your solutions are already always there. Whatever the problem is that you have, the solution has to exist as well. There's no one-sided anything in the world. Everything, my front of my hand, there's a back of my hand. You have a head of a coin, you have the tail of a coin. Everything in the natural world has two sides to it. And so you cannot have a problem without having a solution that already exists. Remember, you're not coming up with a solution, you are finding the solution. When you find something, it's already there. It's just not it's not obvious to you, right? So being able to find your solution, sometimes you have to switch your mind off from the problem, stop making the problem grow and allow the solution to bubble to the surface because it's already there. The next concept is that you can build social connections through distractions. See, now this is a big one. Because when you heard the word distraction, what did you probably think? When I was researching this episode and I searched the word distraction for some images, the first thing that came up, well, a bunch of what came up was people on their phones. Phones and devices have become a huge distraction in our modern world that didn't even exist 50 years ago, 25 years ago, even 15 years ago. They weren't to the extent that they are now. People think about social media and chatting with others as a complete waste of time. And there's even guilt associated with doing it, even in small amounts. But I'm here to tell you that quick social interactions, that can actually boost your mood because you're helping to create connections. Think about all the people who are now working from home that maybe 5 years ago were not working from home. And some people don't like working from home. They like the social interaction that happens in the office. I happen to like working from home. However, I do recognize the benefit of a quick driving by your coworker's cubicle. I can remember doing that in corporate America. Sometimes it wasn't just a drive-by. Sometimes we stand there for an hour talking. But having that quick social interaction can actually boost your mood. There are people that do virtual co-working, where there are people that will log into a Zoom meeting. I'm sure there's businesses that have been created around virtual co-working where people are just on the screen, but we're all there together and we're all doing our separate work, but there's that connection with another human. People are starving for human connection. It can lead to better collaboration and a healthier mindset, which will I can't even talk. Fuel your productivity. That's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes those words get stuck in your mouth. When you have a healthier mindset, it helps you to collaborate better when you're staying connected with other people. So give yourself permission to, and I do it all the time. I'll text people during the day, hey, how are you doing? Just that quick interaction. Maybe we don't get to have a whole long drawn out conversation, or maybe sometimes it does need to be long and drawn out. Here's what's true. Yes, it seems like if I don't spend this next 8 hours doing just work, I won't get as much done. But I found that when I'm in the right frame of mind, I can get more done in 4 hours with distractions than I can in 8 hours of trying to knuckle down. Because quite frankly, my mind's like, okay, I need a break. Build your breaks in. Don't wait until your mind is so frazzled that you can't go anymore because you lost productivity as you got to that point. Schedule them in. Like I said, the Pomodoro technique, work 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break, walk around the block, depending on where you live. Taking a quick walk does wonders. As a matter of fact, as soon as I'm done with this episode, I'm going to go for a walk because I just talked myself into it. It can make you feel so good just to walk for 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, but we're talking about social connections. Let those distractions where you connect with other people fuel you mentally and emotionally. Give yourself permission to reach out to your network during the day, during the times when you're focused, because when you come back, you're going to feel refreshed. And the thing you might have been stuck on right before you went on that break, all of a sudden it's going to open up for you. You're going to be like, of course I'm going to do it that way. Of course that's the answer. You will be surprised how much building social connections through distractions can help you with your productivity. The next concept is that distractions can help to regulate your emotional health. We kind of talked about that a moment ago. See, it's a myth that eliminating distractions will help you to be more emotionally resilient. I get rid of all distractions, which quite frankly, life is one big distraction. So there's no way to get rid of every single solitary distraction, because what you call a distraction can be somebody else's focal point. The very thing that you consider as a distraction from your work is somebody else's work, right? So it's all about your perspective. But short breaks or light distractions, and notice we're saying light. We don't want you to get lost hours in these distractions. The phone calls, and if the phone rings and it's going to be that person that doesn't know how to get off the phone quick, then don't get on the phone with them. But if it can be a very quick text message or walk around the block, those very quick things that can help you to regulate stress and emotions or negative emotions. When you change your physiology, for example, I like to line dance or go out for a walk. You might ride your bike around the block, just do some jumping jacks, just get up and walk around your house. When you change your physiology or watch something funny, or again, indulge in your hobby, maybe you do crocheting and you keep your crocheting beside you on the desk and you do a few, I don't want to say the terminology because I don't know the terminology, but do a few rows of your, just in a 5-minute break. That can do wonders. That can just be a quick reset emotionally. That's vital for long-term mental health. You've got to let yourself have those distractions. Distractions are not bad unless they completely take over and become the thing that you're doing. But in small spurts, you need distractions in order to be emotionally healthy. The next concept is that distractions can increase attention span when they are used strategically. So there's a myth that if you're distracted a lot, that can lead to a shorter attention span. But I just talked about the Pomodoro technique. Strategic breaks or distractions can actually extend your attention span and improve focus when you return to the task. I can't tell you how many times I have, sometimes when I'm walking up to the front of my house, I'll see something that needs to be done or something that needs to be put away, and I'll stop and do it because I have a rule that if something can be done in 2 minutes or less, I'm going to do it right then. I'm not going to put it to the side. If I can hang up the coats real quick, I'm going to hang them up on the way to what I'm doing. But I can't tell you how much when I am taking those strategic breaks or those distractions can actually help me to stay focused longer when I get back. I'd rather have 25 minutes of productivity than trying to go and then 5-minute break than trying to go 4 hours. You can't do it. Attention spans are only so long. Sidebar, that's why just thinking about church, when they have a super long sermon, I actually think a person that speaks for a long time is actually not a great speaker when I'm talking about an hour or more, because they've lost their audience. It'd be better to do a shorter sermon, 25, 30 minutes, make 3 strong points that the people are going to remember and get out of there, because the whole point should be for them to remember it and apply it to their lives. But when you try to tell everything you know, people are watching their watches, they're looking at other things, they're looking for a distraction because it's gone on too long. You need to give yourself regular breaks so that you can come back later on and have a longer attention span. Think about when you've gone to a conference and they've had workshops and it seemed like the person talked for an hour and a half and then they finally gave a break. Well, you checked out about 30 minutes in, and the rest of it, you were just waiting and looking for a way out. But the better conferences are the ones that have shorter sessions. Maybe they're just 30 minutes long and you go take a break, or you stand up and you do something different. So for my event organizers who might be watching this, think about that when you are planning your activities at your event. Have breaks in there, plenty of breaks. Yes, it may chop things up for you from a planning perspective and a logistics perspective, but as far as the value to the attendees, you want to make sure they get plenty of breaks so that they can actually pay better attention at the next session. Okay, that was just a little bonus. Okay, now we're talking about that you need to recognize the value of unstructured time in a world where we value planning. And I'm an event planner, I'm an organizer. We value, having everything structured, and that if something is unstructured or distracted time, that it's a waste of time. That's a myth, that everything has to be structured and planned out. Actually, having unstructured and distracted time can lead to unexpectedly high levels of insight and opportunities. It can foster a sense of spontaneity and play, all of which these are keys for having a well-rounded life. So doing things that aren't planned, right? Like when I pop up and just do a line dance real quick, or, just pop up and go outside, or engage in a hobby, or do a little bit of mindless scrolling just for a few minutes with a little timer on it. Unstructured time when you just don't have a plan. One of my other hobbies is street festivals. I went to St. James Art Show just this past weekend, just walked around looking. It wasn't structured. There was no plan. That gives you that sense of spontaneity and fun and play. That is not a waste of time. There's a value to that ability to not have everything, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Or when you go on vacation. Now, comment below. Are you one of those vacationers that likes to have every minute planned out, all your activities, and minute by minute what you're doing? Or do you prefer to let it flow and just let things evolve? I'm kind of a combination of the two. I will, I'll kind of have, you need to kind of have an idea of what you want to do when you travel to a city to make sure things are open and that you got the tickets and all that. But I don't want to have everything planned, because what if I don't feel like doing it that day? Of all times, vacation should be when you're unstructured, which is why a lot of people enjoy their vacations. But some people come back from their vacation and they say they need a break from, or they need a vacation from their vacation. They did it wrong. Your vacation should always be relaxing. Either you need to stay longer or just go back later if you have a lot of things you want to do. But don't make it to where everything is so structured to where there's no place for your mind to rest, for your body to rest, and where you're saying, that's a waste of time. I got to get my money's worth. Your money's worth is defined by what you say the value of it is that you want to get out of it. If you want to get rest and relaxation, then doing that, if you achieve that, you've got your money's worth. Doing all the things and being exhausted and frenzied and frantic, that's not the goal, especially on vacation, but really in anything in life. Want to make sure you put some unstructured time in there. And then the 8th and last concept is to embrace distractions for the benefit of flexibility. The myth is that success comes from having a rigid focus and discipline, which I'm going to have to do. Matter of fact, I may do next week on discipline, because the root word of discipline is disciple. The same root word is disciple. And a disciple is someone who learns from a teacher or from some kind of leader. Discipline isn't as much as people believe the word means you're rigid, you're inflexible, you stick to your, that's not what discipline means. About that that may be one meaning of discipline, but the one I gravitate toward is the one where you are in a space of learning and studying, getting really good on a certain topic or field of interest. That's what discipline can be, but it doesn't mean you have to be rigid and unrelenting with something. Being flexible and adapting to distractions can improve resilience, being able to bounce back from difficulties, and your problem solving skills in a variety of different dynamic environments. So, being flexible and being able to go. Have you ever met a person that can't ever go with the flow? If one thing goes off kilter, they are completely thrown off because they're thinking we can't get off focus. We got to stay the course. Yes, you have to stay the course. Yes, you have to be consistent. As I talked, if you haven't seen their episode on consistency, we did it at the last episode. Yes, that's important, but it's also important to take life as it comes as well. A healthy balance is what we're really talking about. No, you don't want to do your entire life flying by the seat of your pants, but having to have every minute structured to the point where you see every change or every deviation from what you're doing to be a negative thing, and your life isn't flexible, that can be very exhausting and not fulfilling because you don't get to enjoy the things you want to enjoy because they weren't on the list. That's a distraction. A lot of times in entrepreneur world, they say you got to remove all distractions. No, you don't. We've talked today about how you can use distractions for emotional health, for mental health, for creativity, for social connection, how to regulate, how to increase your attention span. We've talked about all those things. All those are benefits of allowing distractions into your life. So that's going to do it for me. I hope now that you have a broader understanding of the benefit of distractions in your life and how you can use your distracted moments to boost your productivity and to increase your outcomes so you can live the life of persistent purpose that you want. So that's going to do it for me. I'm Coach MJ with another episode of Persistent Purpose. Until next time, take care and be blessed and continue to pursue your purpose with persistence. See you next time.